So you're talking about your end result product. You're not talking about, oh, we need a way to track customers, entering tasks for work that needs to be done. So we're going to write our own ticketing system in-house versus buying Jira. Or you mean that too?
That actually is a good example.
A lot of companies do that. Yeah.
Yeah. I know early on in our company, we built our own tracking system.
I think Adam said that they had written one too at one point.
We still use it.
Eventually we just said, let's just, go to Atlassian and use Jira. Mm-hmm. So, I think it's a good example of if you're a company, how do you decide, are you going to build this thing or are you going to buy it? Now, in our case, we didn't make any money.
It's not something we sold,
building
right?
that thing ourselves. Yeah. So, there was a lot of cost involved in that. And that's sort of one of the pros and cons I see with buy versus build when it comes to cost. You can spend a lot of time and money building your own stuff, but then again, you can also spend a lot of time and money buying someone else's stuff.
I agree. Implementation isn't always the easiest.
We kind of have the three different company modes that I can think of represented here. So my company is bootstrapped. We haven't had any outside funding, but we're still really small. We have a very small, tight budget. Carol and Tim, you guys both work in sort of a large company, corporate environment, well-established company. And then if I'm not mistaken, Ben, Envision is VC funded, right?
Correct.
So, that's sort of three different perspectives on how you would make these decisions, I think.
Yeah, we're actually having a lot of build versus buy conversations internally right now. And in a previous episode, I think I had mentioned that some of our future-facing teams had built their own WebSocket implementations.
Yeah.
And they're discovering now that, pulling Socket.io into a Node application doesn't necessarily hammer out all the details of what it takes to manage a large-scale WebSocket implementation. So now we're trying to figure out what third-party service would probably want to defer all of the WebSocket management over to. I think right now we're looking between Pusher and Ably. But we're also having discussions about identity management, like Adam said in the previous episode. And then there's also discussions about things like whether or not we want to host a service versus have a managed service somewhere else, which is kind of another nuance to build versus buy.